The system is broken and it is crumbling. And we, the people, are going to be the victims in this mommy versus daddy, daddy versus mommy divorce between the system. Shalom, everybody, and welcome back to Wyco Resiliency. In today's video, we're going to touch upon the continuation of the collapse of the American empire. And I was really hoping that we'd be able to approach this today with a more, I want to say, a more positive thing. However, let me adjust something really quick here behind me. I was hoping today would be, for the most point, uneventful. However, with touching upon X, formerly known as Twitter, it seems that there was a mass shooting at a LDS church in Michigan. And I haven't dove into the background, but the usual comments are out. This was MAGA. This was another Republican. And the screams and crawls for, we must disarm. You know, we have to pass more stringent gun laws. That's not going to solve it, because what we need to do is actually have more church security. And one reason I bring this up is because there are more and more individuals in this country that despise Christianity. They hate those that follow the word. And it can be anything: Protestant, Catholic, Mormon. And don't start with they're not, this is not that argument. Don't even go there. They believe in Yeshua. Let's leave it at that. Seventh-day Adventists. There's those that are going after elder brother Judah. Also, Jewish people. And, we can get into a whole thing about going through all the issues. That's not the point today. We are still watching the rapid decline of the American empire. We have Antifa outside in Portland going after ICE agents. And that is now becoming more of, I hate to break to you, a terrorist action. They're assaulting. They are using violence and force to push forward their political ideology. By definition, that is terrorism. Hate to break it to you. And I can see all the comments now, all the profanities. If you get out of control, I will remove you from the comments. But, hey, good comments, bad comments, they all help the algorithm. So there's a few more reasons that we can look and we can see this collapse, and it's moving faster and faster. We're getting closer to the 250 mark. And to keep things in mind from the prepper side of things, there's certain things that you need to do as a prepper or just as a citizen that is concerned. And let's go, those 5 things, let's touch upon a couple of them. You need to have your general preps, your food, your water. We're going into the winter months. You have to have a way for heat, have a way to heat your homes, because if a power substation is hit, you may go without power and heat for a while. Have a way to cook your food. So heat. Medical, you have to have medical. And I'm not talking about Band-Aids. I'm not talking about boo-boo kit. I'm like, you have to have a trauma kit. And with the trauma kit, let's go into real quick, if you need a quality American-made trauma kit, Refuge Medical. The link is in the description right there. Click on there. Best American-made trauma kits. That's all I'm going to say about that, because I don't want to be, pimping too much stuff in this video. However, I have to pay the bills, and one way that I pay the bills is through my affiliates, though I get no income from Refuge Medical, but they do give me discounts toward my medical gear, just to be transparent. So I have to pay the bills, and if you want to help support me and the show, use the links in the description, because you can always order Kofifi from the Blackout Coffee Company. You get a 20% discount if you use the YCO20 code when you place your order. And for your emergency medical prescriptions, antibiotics, you have Jace Medical. And Jace Medical has a brand new little section in there, which is pretty cool. You can get preparedness foods from Jace Medical. And using the YCO10 code, you get $10 off your order. That's what they've offered me to offer you. So be sure to check out Jace Medical for that, for your life-saving medical, your daily prescriptions. You can get them there. Your antibiotics, you can get them there. You can now get long-term food storage from them. Okay, so that's enough of that. You know what to do, and thank you for that. So as we continue, also beyond your general preps, you need to know trauma medicine. It is my firm belief you should know trauma medicine before you know your personal defense. And I know I'm hearing it now, the Second Amendment. You're right. The Second Amendment is extremely important. I'll never tell you it's not. You need to know how to plug holes. There is more of a chance that you will run into an emergency medical situation where you are the first responder, and knowing trauma medicine through Refuge Medicine or wherever else, Refuge Medical, wherever, know how to plug those holes, know how to apply that tourniquet. Okay, have a kit, and I'm not talking just your personal kit. Have something extra. Okay, myself, I have I have two. I have 3 kits. I have my IFAC, but I also have 2 essentially EMT bags. Mine are the excuse me. Mine is based on the Refuge Medical Adventure kit. That is essentially a EMT bag, and so I have 2 of those. I have a ARC. Can't get the ARC anymore. It's basically a vehicle kit. They have the vehicle trauma kit now, is I think the comparable one. So I have those kits. I know how to stop that bleed. I know how to plug holes. I know the tourniquet. Okay. Need to be armed. You need to be armed. And I'm not saying you're going to be the glorious savior of all, but most likely in a high-risk situation, you're not going to be drawing your gun and firing into a crowd, but you still need to have that ability to defend yourself if you need to. So be armed. Stay alert. Head on a swivel. Know your situation. Have a way out. Not just, well, I could have taken that guy out. It doesn't matter if you can take the guy out. How do you get off the X? How do you leave that area? That is a better solution. You got your wife, your kids with you. Do you really want to be firing into a crowd? No. You want to get them off the X. Get your wife and yourself and your family safely. If there's others that are in danger, get them out. That's your goal. I know we're all heroes in our own story, and we see the fantasy that you're going to be. Stop that. If it happens, it happens. And blessings to you that you were able to come in. But honestly, you're going to want to get off the desks and get people to safety. Plain and simple. Avoid crowds. Stay out of the crowded areas. The where I'm at, the Seahawks game, and I'm not a Seahawks fan. Sorry, Seahawks fan. Just not. Mariners, the Krakens, all that. Stay away from sporting events. There's a huge festival. If there's going to be a terrorist attack or an attack of violence, churches. And I'm definitely not telling you to stop going to church. I mean, myself today, sorry about the creep. I got to shift my back. Today, I had a wonderful fellowship. We did something we don't normally do. We sat through a mass. Definitely, I'm a whole Bible follower, so I have my own fellowship in Midrash. Don't want to get too much into that because this is the prep channel. But we did a church event and we assisted, and it was a wonderful event. But the whole time I'm there, I'm watching people. I'm looking around because we could have been attacked. Am I like, oh no, but I'm aware. Avoid the crowds. large gatherings. Okay, that's what we're looking to be alert with. And like the phrase, I believe, was originally coined by Pastor Joe Fox, "Kuhump, come out of her, my people, at least you partake in her plagues and sin." That is taken out of the Bible. But I believe Pastor Joe Fox came up with "Kuhump," and you need to Kuhump. You need to get out of the high population zones. And I know many of you, well, you just moved to, yeah, I moved to the Pacific Northwest, and I am in I'm near a high population zone. We're not as highly populated here, but it is what it is for now. That was through obedience from Father Yah. I need to be here, and I'm starting to see why, because I'm running into people and I'm helping to guide them in all sorts of different ways. There is a proverb: "A wise man foreseeth danger, and he hides himself." A lot of people like to misinterpret this as cowardice. Danger isn't always immediate danger. I am foreseeing a collapse, not a civil war. And I really don't want to break into the difference between why we're not going to go into a civil war. It's going to be more of a collapse. I'm anticipating this. I am preparing for a collapse. And because I foreseeth this danger, I'm hiding myself. I'm not cowering by hiding. I'm preparing. I'm moving food, medical. I have a way out. I have a way to get from work to home, to get my wife, to gather my tribe and get them from one location to another if need be. Other than that, we are staying put. We're staying in our castles because that's where all our stuff is. So this whole, I'm going to bug out, if you have to, but if not, you're going to stay. You're going to stay home in your castle where all your stuff is. And hopefully you have a good communication plan that you can get on, the phone, ham radio, smoke signals if you have to. So just because we sense something and we know that something bad, it's not fear. It's out of proper movement. So I think that's mostly what I want to talk about today on that one. I don't want to go too much because I know some of you, I go on and on. But we are seeing a rise in violence. We're seeing that rise. And I love how I'm going to use their term, the alt-left. I love how the alt-left likes to say, well, we're not violent. Actually, look at the pit videos. You guys are extremists. The alt-right, you guys are extremists. You're just on two different ends of the spectrum. You're both wrong. We need to find that middle ground. But extremism, in no matter what sense, is not healthy. It's not good. And we've moved beyond the point of, I hate to say it, but I think we moved beyond the point of reconciliation. And that even goes as far as those in politics. We're seeing so many things that are just horrendous coming out of our so-called representatives. I don't like leaders. They're not our leaders. They're our representatives. We put them there, or at least we were made to believe we put them there. I do have issues. I mean, I get the idea. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, it needs to be done. But to send in military troops, U.S. soil, to handle crime, to punish, to work as law enforcement, posse comitatus? So are we suspending that? You got to look in the Constitution. Well, we're going to use the National Guard. Well, you're going to use the National Guard. Usually that's for disasters. But now we're starting to use them to quell violence. This is a Pandora's box. And it's a scary one. And every so often I think to that movie, and you can say you liked it or you didn't like it. It was enjoyable. I had a few issues with it. Civil War. It was on HBO. I think it's still on HBO. a sitting president decided to drop, I believe he dropped bombs or opened fire on protesters. And I remember listening to a lot of people, oh, that's not Trump. They're not talking about Trump. It was quite obvious in that movie that that was directed at Trump. Now, this was before his second term. This was put out during Biden's administration. I'm seeing stuff now, and I'm like, oh, self-fulfilling prophecy. And I know some of you are like, no, I'm just throwing I'm just spitballing, okay? I'm not saying this is what's happening, but it makes me think. But the biggest thing I worry about with this is it's setting new precedents. George Bush Jr. set a precedence by executive ordering everything. Then Obama did even more. Then Trump did more. And then Biden did more. We rule not by law anymore, but by executive order. We're not passing law. So the next moron that sits in that presidency is going to just wipe away all the other stuff. We're not getting bills passed because the Democrats can't get along with the Republicans. Republicans can't get along with Democrats. This is a sign that the government, the system is broken and it is crumbling. And we, the people, are going to be the victims in this mommy versus daddy versus mommy divorce between the system. And sitting and thinking that a piece of paper, as wonderful as the Constitution is going to hold us together when you might get someone that walks in there, says enough is enough, and just burns the Constitution and says, what are you going to do? You'll have some in the military to fight it. You'll have some that'll agree with it. What if the military, someone in the military, Admiral so-and-so, decides enough is enough and he decides to take control? Well, the Constitution prevents it. Constitution prevents a lot of things, but yet they bypass it. You're putting way too much faith in a piece of paper thinking that those others will follow that same faith in it. Another reason that we're looking at the impending collapse. So something to think about, everybody. Thank you for watching the show. Hopefully next week we'll have a much more positive show. Those of you that have been touching on my Bible readings, thank you. Those of you that didn't know about it, there's a section I am reading the Bible in its entirety. It was originally just going to be Genesis, but I'm definitely going to do the first 5 books of the Bible. What many people don't realize is the Torah. When people talk about the Torah, that's the first 5 books of the Bible. And then the Gospels is the second half that many think that that little piece of paper divides the Jewish faith from the Christian faith, because Christians and Jews get along oh so well, they decided to share a book. No, we're supposed to follow the entire book. But that's for the faith side. But with that, even if you don't believe in what I believe, still you have a wonderful week. Shalom and blessings, and thank you again for tuning in. I'm up to 408 subscribers. Thank you guys. Like, subscribe, share. I'm trying to hit 500 before the end of the end of the year. Hopefully you guys can help get me above 500. I'd greatly appreciate it. With that, I'm out. Watch your 6 as always.